You are now standing in Castle Square, before the facade of the local lord's residence overlooking the village. Built as a country residence at the end of the 16th century, the chateau was partly remodeled in the 18th century by the Baron de Montpezat, Lord of Colias. During the plague of 1720, under the strain of a grave and fast-spreading epidemic, he settled in a house facing the chateau so that he could remain among his subjects, direct the village community's defensive measures, and set the rules, guards, and food stocks needed to keep the village safe and calm. We chose this case on purpose to show the Lord's role within his own village. Besides administering feudal justice, he also exercised command in the military sense. The chateau was therefore the center of authority, expressed by the term ban, from which the French word bon Dieu would later derive. This authority was embodied by the medieval defensive tower around which the Renaissance chateau was built. Was this tower, known as the Keep, part of the former medieval fortress, or was it a knight's tower standing on the ramparts of the period? The dates found in the old records tend to support the first view, although nothing can be established with certainty. What is far more certain is that we are standing on the site where, probably during the 10th century, the center of seigneurial power first appeared in the form of a wooden tower. A similar tower was built on a man-made mound at Moggio to control the roads leading towards the lagoons and the sea, along which merchandise was transported. In that case, the lord then sought to control the collection of taxes on the movement of goods and people. More generally, during this period, great aristocratic families took possession of public property as royal authority faded. They made their new power visible by constructing defensive towers in which they installed representatives, the lords. The wooden tower thus became the preferred instrument of this seizure of authority. Quick to build and requiring no highly specialized workforce, it gave immediate physical expression to the right of ban, the power to command, punish, and judge. It formed the vertical symbol of a new authority in landscapes of plains or hills that had previously contained no such visible signs of domination. Over time, the lord's needs encouraged the population to gather around the tower, giving birth to a proto-village. In some places, the lord required the inhabitants to settle around his castle. Elsewhere, as at Vaison-la-Romaine or Moussac, he attracted them by offering favorable tax conditions. At Cabrières, the archaeologist Laurent Schneider has demonstrated this process. The site had already been occupied during late antiquity, but in the 10th century the first medieval castle of Cabrières was built mainly of wood, while the inhabitants left the plain and sought shelter at the foot of the tower. Only around the 11th century was the fortress permanently rebuilt in stone, before being dismantled during the Albigensian Crusade in 1210. It is highly probable that the castle of Colias followed a similar history, and that its defensive structures were dismantled during the 13th century. Granted by the king to the Bishop of Uzès, it remained inhabited until the 16th century and was then abandoned. Traces of its ruins appear in the Compois, or local tax registers, of 1595 and 1751. As the seat both of command and of justice, the chateau contained a courtroom and a prison. It was a complex of buildings whose development during the early 18th century is known through the memoirs written by the Marquis from 1752 onwards, while he was recovering from illness. After his father's death in 1686, the young Marquis witnessed the abandonment of the Chateau of Colias. His mother left to settle in Roquemaure, taking away its furniture and valuable tableware. Entrusted for decades to an unscrupulous business manager, the estate steadily deteriorated through lack of repairs and direct supervision by its owner. The Château of Colias, by then known as Montpezat-les-Uzès, underwent major works under the direction of Monsieur de Carichon, the Marquis's father-in-law. From 1719 and throughout the plague, practical repairs were carried out on the buildings and the surrounding estate, combining agricultural needs with seigneurial comfort. In 1729, following a fire during the night, the stables and hayloft were completely rebuilt in order to preserve the chateau's essential facilities. Around 1730 and 1731, an elegant extension was added to the front facade. 2 bedrooms, a vestibule, and upper granaries enlarged the main residence. These improvements, undertaken with care and persistence, reflected the Marquis's determination to transform his home into a place that was both practical and worthy of his lineage. Until 1752, the meticulous maintenance of the buildings and seigneurial archives completed this program of restoration. Through these works, the Château of Montpezat illustrates a family's deep attachment to its heritage and its determination to enhance the value of its estate. Naturally, since that time, the residence and its adjoining buildings have undergone many further alterations. It is to be hoped that these changes will soon become the subject of new research, helping to shape a future visitor trail devoted to Colias in the 19th century.